And what's up, everybody? I'm back with another video game review, and today I am reviewing Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland, released on the Game Boy Advance system. Some point, I don't know the exact release date. It'll be in the title of the video, though. You can go check that out. But yeah, I was released on the GBA. I was able to play this by backwards compatibility with my DS Lite. And Eli, Dark Realm 7, was very kind and gracious enough to let me borrow this game and give me the chance to play it. So thank you, as always, for letting me do that. And I gotta talk about how fun this game actually is to play. This was my third Kirby game, officially, behind Epic Yarn and Squeak Squad, and every time I play a Kirby game, I always just get the itch to play more of them because they're so much fun to play. Epic Yarn was amazing. Squeak Squad wasn't as good. Still my least favorite of the three, but I thought it was still a pretty good game. A good game all throughout. But Nightmare in Dreamland is incredible. It's probably my favorite of the three now, with Epic Yarn still being a close second. I just thought the gameplay controls were a little bit more adherent to what Kirby is versus what the Wii was going with more motion control stuff. But yeah, it's just so much fun to play. It's Kirby, you just get to suck stuff up, and you get to jump, and you get to fly, and you get to do a bunch of silly movements going through all these colorful worlds and lands and doing all these cool stuff and levels, and it's just very immersive and very, very fun to play. Really, really enjoyed it. I thought the attacks were very easy. I just wish the only thing, and some of the only control things, I just kind of wish, like, when Kirby was floating, that the air would leave him automatically instead of us having to do it manually, because that really affects my rhythm when it comes to, like, battles. It's another button I have to worry about. It's another pressing motion that I have to worry about to release the air, so that when I try and suck up something or launch something, I don't launch air and it just becomes a mute point anyways. That part was a little annoying. But once you get your rhythm down, and you get it done pretty quickly, you can figure it out, and it's not a big deal at all. For the most part, I thought the combat was also a lot of fun and still pretty easy, especially like the boss fights. And the boss fights are so easy if you have like one of those special powers and you take that into battle. Oh my god, does it make the boss... You don't have to follow the rhythm at all. Just miss their first attack and you can just annihilate them. And they can do absolutely nothing about it and just wallop them. It is insane how crazy that can be. Because, in my opinion, a lot of the boss stuff wasn't super well thought out. I thought the attacks felt a little similar. Different styles and different items that they were using and a few differences. But overall, I felt like they had the same kind of just gist to them. And they were very, very frequent, too. There's a lot of boss fights in this game, which just seems unorthodox for the mood this game is going for. And a lot of that stuff. And a lot of them are put towards the middle of the levels for some reason. I don't understand why they did that. Usually like a big boss fight, you feel like, you got to put all this work in to fight it after going through the whole level, and then you're done when you beat it. But no, like, you beat the boss and then you got to do the other half of the level, and it's just it's a weird placement. It's not a bad placement because there's not much build up, but they space it out well. It doesn't affect the pacing or anything. I think it's fine for the most part. It's just a really odd choice that they had for this game. But however, let me just say, not all the boss fights are very easy. The end of this game, the last couple of boss fights are extremely difficult. Especially in comparison to the rest of the game's fights. The King DDD boss and the final boss even after that are really, really difficult. And there's just a lot of erratic and chaotic movements and just patterns they have to figure out. It took me a long, long time to beat both the DDD and the final boss battle versus the entire rest of the game. This game is pretty short. There's a lot to do and a lot to see, but as far as just completion standards with completing the levels, you can do it pretty quickly. It took me probably 3 hours max over 2 separate play periods to beat this game. But the King DDD boss fight and the final boss fight really drew that up. That was about maybe a quarter to a third of my entire playing of this game was those last 2 fights. Especially with the DDD boss fight. That one really annoyed me because you have to worry about avoiding his hammer, and I finally figured out a good strategy to do that. And then he flies, and then they throw you right in the mix again with a whole nother one, and you got to worry about, avoiding flying stuff and just spamming the shoot button at the same time. It's just a huge step up from what we're getting accustomed to with the rest of the game. And I don't like that. I don't like when there's sudden difficulty spikes. I like moderate increase in difficulty or a more consistent level of difficulty throughout the game. Like if it starts out hard, that's annoying, but it's okay if it stays like that and just works its way through the game. Maybe a little bit dips here and there, but otherwise it would be perfectly fine. Not this. This game just doesn't have that, and it's one of its very few weaknesses is that. Another thing I did like though was like the bonus levels you can do in the game. There's some in the beginning of the game where you can get some extra lives, or you can fight for better health. You can fight bosses you've already fought for better health. There's even like a museum gallery that you can go in and see all that stuff. That's cool. I like that. Outside of the lives though, I didn't really find any of the rewards or other incentives for doing this stuff very worthwhile. Especially seeing that you really, for what you were getting, it wasn't really worth it, in my opinion, for the most part. But I thought it was okay regardless. Also, you can just float forever, which is awesome. Contrast to what Kirby can do in Super Smash Brothers, that's for sure. But you can just float forever with him, and you can just sometimes you can just float to the end of the level. I mean, obviously you can't just float straight to the end and cheat like that, but because they work the levels in where that's not always going to be a possibility. But you can avoid a lot of enemies, and you can miss a lot of stuff, though, while you're doing that, so I wouldn't recommend doing it. But if you're getting a little stressed out, that's a good way to go to just get your moderate levels back on, and it'll be good. I also like that you can get your powers back, like your special ability, if you're quick enough after getting hit. That's pretty cool to do, though it can be a little difficult, especially if you're in the middle of a combat situation, or maybe you get stuck somewhere. It's not as easy as it sounds, is what I should say, but it's still fine. I still liked it. It's a good thing to include, I should say. But overall, like I said, this was a really fun game for me. And out of all the GBA games that I've played, which isn't many, this was by far my favorite. And really the only big GBA game that I've played so far, but it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Again, probably my favorite Kirby game made, that I've played, at least. A favorite Kirby game that I've played at the time making this, at least. So that's good. Really enjoyed it. And I would 100% recommend it if you get the chance to play this game. It'd be a lot of fun. So my final score for Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland, easy 9 out of 10. It's not a perfect game. I pointed out some of the flaws. It's not perfect, but it's a lot of fun to play. Good for all ages. Not a super long and grueling experience, but not super short either. Lots to see, but you don't really have to see much of it. But if you want to, you can. And that's so cool. Absolutely love it. So, and I am considering putting maybe the DDD boss fight on the hardest video game levels list. It would be a massive stretch to put it there. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Probably not, but we'll see. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this game review. If you've ever played Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland, I'd love to know your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. And that's going to do it for this video, so stay tuned for much more amazing content, including more game reviews and other awesome stuff. until next time, see you guys later. Goodbye.